fundamentally, whether it's the project or whether it's the existing business, it's our people. And we look at that in terms of safety, but essentially it's people. We talk about safety first, but essentially it's people first. My biggest concern right now is not necessarily how to figure out how to get $40 million cost out, it's how to do that without getting anybody hurt. People get distracted. People are concerned, both inside and outside. That's the most worrisome thing that we are dealing with right now, is that people might not be thinking just the same as they were last week, 6 months ago. What's my house price? What's this? Whatever. What decisions am I going to make? When we get distracted in a smelter, it usually results in injuries. And what we try and do is manage those to make sure that they're as small as they can be, if not avoided. So that's our primary focus. Each time we've gone through a hurdle of the project, we see a change in the atmosphere in the plant. In 2006, when we announced the first time that we were going forward with a $1.8 billion project at that time, we had and enjoyed the best safety performance of the plant. And I believe it's linked. Confidence is high, security, everybody feels good, off we go. In 2007, when we had to delay a little because we didn't get through the first BCUC, guess what? We saw the opposite. So I truly believe that there's a direct connection between people being concerned and injuries in the plant. And that's where we work extremely hard to try and prevent those. So that's number one. It's easy to say, very, very difficult to do. So literally our first thought is our people and making sure that all come out with the fingers and the toes that they went in. Oh, that might jump two now, I'm sorry. All right, the top slide, you've seen this before. It's a slide I like to use because it just puts the whole thing in context. The top picture is the smelter today. And yes, it's the same vessel. It does actually leave occasionally, the ship in the top right. We have the paste area, which will essentially remain. We have lines 1 and 2, lines 3 to 5, lines 7 and 8. DC4 is our main casting center. The picture on the bottom really is just trying to illustrate where the new site will fit onto the old site. It's actually a little bit further to the left than that picture describes right now. But the reason I show lines 1 and 2 closed and lines 3 to 5 closed, if you imagine ourselves looking at this in 2013, 2014, that will be the configuration. With those lines maybe still physically there, but not operating. Why do I labour on 7 and 8 all of the time? It's because of two things. I don't want the people in lines 7 and 8 to think that they're doing a bad job. They're not, they're doing a great job. The only reason that I'm looking to close 7 and 8 is because it's right underneath where I need to build the new plant. That's it. I need the space. We don't have other space to be able to do this. I need to utilise the area that 7 and 8 is sitting on today, so it needs to go. It needs to go, well, it needed to go last December, but of course with us being at a slower pace, now I've got more time. We may well take a decision on 7 and 8 because of the economy, but also linked to the project. I'm not about to do something in lines 1 and 2 because 1, it'll not come back. So 7 and 8, that's the only reason 7 and 8 are in play and in discussion. Maybe a curtailment, maybe a closure, maybe a slowdown, that's all. Interestingly, a huge piece of equipment here, which will sit there, it's the biggest single substation in the world associated to a smelter, is actually now complete and will be delivered and on site within the next weeks to a few months. That's a $125 million piece of equipment, which we'll have on site. The only problem is I can't put it there because this is still running. I'm going to have to put it over here for now to store it. This is a shot of what the new plant will look like. We show these buildings in white because these are actually the operations within those buildings are operations that don't exist today in Kitimat. These are all new. You could call them new jobs. Those jobs that are being done in here are not being done today in the existing existing smelter because they're associated to the anode. This very much looks like the old 3 to 5. These are state-of-the-art gas treatment, fume treatment plants. There was a question in the Councillor Halleck asked about the pollution, as he called it. Well, this here is really the difference between the existing smelter and the new smelter in terms of the step change in environmental capture and control. 6 buildings, 61 pots in each building, 366 pots total, producing 400,000 tonnes a year. It's a step increase of about 150, 160,000 tonnes of what we're producing today, about 130,000 tonnes over Kitimat's original capacity of about 270,000 tonnes. This is the old process. And by the way, I think I've made an invitation to the District of Kitimat Council leadership to come in and make a visit. I'd be more than happy to host yourselves. I think it's great to be talked at, as it's been done this morning, but it's much better to see things. And there's absolutely nothing to hide in this business we have. And it may help, I think, or give you some assurance or reassurance. So we'll not have a big bus trip. I may get the District of Kitimat in first, or whatever, but if we can get together, I'd be delighted to host you for a day or an afternoon, update you on the business and take you through the plan. Some numbers. I can't help being an engineer. I think there's some significant numbers. This is the increase in capacity, up to 400,000 tonnes. That's not the end of the story. I think we can increase it beyond that. We've built enough flexibility in the new plant that it can grow. Big step change here is in the power consumption. So this is actually why we can increase the capacity of the plant, because it's much more efficient, while still maintaining our integrity around the firm energy that we have, close to 700 megawatts. So essentially that's why I'm so confident in the fact that Kemano can deliver, and we still have a little bit of energy to sell, but it's not firm. I'm going to use all of the firm. If you look at what we had in the days gone by of smelter, today is about 565, and we had the old LTPA contract. When you combine those, and you're up to about the 700 megawatts, that's the firm. So much less power to sell. Of course, during the transition phase, no, excuse me, I'm sure. Assuming I'm pressing the right button. There we go. The combination of that takes us to the firm power. And anything we have above that to sell will be on a variable nature. The transition is different as we go through 2009, 10, 11, and maybe 12. We'll actually have varying amounts of energy to exchange, because the smelter will be at a different level of capacity. If I take 7 and 8 down, this 565 will drop to probably 420 to 450. That energy will go on the line. We'll put that on the line. The capacity of the line, the tie line from Kitimat to Terrace, and then on, it has the capacity to deal with that. Not all of the time, but generally we have the capacity to deal with that. It's up to about 300 energy.
So your power consumption is going from 18 to 19 down to 13, 13 and a half.
Yes.
And then you've got your power required at full capacity.
Goes up.
So why is there a discrepancy? What happens to that power consumption?
Right. What we have is you have each individual, this is on an individual cell basis. So each per ton. So what this number is here, that we require 18 kilowatt hours per kilogram.
Over 8.
Okay.
Okay, and then you're down to 6.
And this one's only going to need 13 kilowatt hours to produce a kilogram. But we're going to change the amperage. Look at this is the power here. We're going up from an operating average of 120,000 amps to treble that at 390. So essentially the yield in here, we've got 780 pots today, running at this amperage, producing around about 1,000 kilos. We're going to have 366 pots running at this amperage, producing 3,000 kilos in the same 24 hours. So the yield rate, the run rate is so much higher. The unit efficiency reduces. The total power consumption goes up because I'm actually producing that much more metal. So if you look at block consumption, which is this number, compared to unit per ton, so it's much more efficient per ton, but I'm using more of that energy to produce more tons. That's why it looks odd that the power consumption goes up, but the actual contribution per ton goes there.